With the new year upon us, let's take a look at everything we can look forward to in 2026, which is shaping up to be a pretty wild year for Star Wars. Alright, so this year is shaping up to be a big year for Star Wars, with theatrical releases finally making a comeback, two huge shows releasing, in addition to a few exciting game announcements that were just revealed at the 2025 December Game Awards. So let's start with the movies. Now, the only theatrical Star Wars release this year is The Mandalorian and Grogu, with the next major movie, Star Wars Starfighter, starring Ryan Gosling and directed by Sean Levy, is set to release the following year in 2027. Now, the plot for Mando and Grogu is simple, summed up in about one sentence as: once a lone bounty hunter, Mandalorian Din Djarin and his apprentice Grogu embark on an exciting new Star Wars adventure. It's not a lot to go off of, but the film is being shot for IMAX, though we don't really know what that will mean in practice. I think the upside, at least in my view, is that filming for IMAX suggests a different approach than previous projects, hopefully one that goes beyond simply stretching a TV episode into a 2-hour runtime. And that's something I personally hope that they avoid, as I'm not particularly interested in seeing a feature-length episode built around a lower-tier villain. Now, the first teaser trailer has been on YouTube for over 3 months now, and while it doesn't reveal a ton of plot details, it does showcase plenty of action and a wide variety of alien species, which is a definite win in my book, at least for now. I think the more aliens, the better. The movie is directed by Jon Favreau, with Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, and George Lucas all credited as co-writers. It stars Pedro Pascal, Sigourney Weaver, and Jeremy Allen White, among others, and is set to release on May 22nd, 2026. And since that is the only movie releasing this year, let's go ahead and dive into the shows that are coming out. The show that I'm most excited for by far is Maul Shadow Lord, and it's the major new Star Wars animated series announced by Sam Witwer and Lucasfilm Animation at Star Wars Celebration back in April of 2025. This project is produced by Athena Portillo, with Dave Filoni overseeing key creative elements and Matt Michnovetz serving as head writer, signaling a pretty strong creative team behind the series. And when I originally began writing the script for this video that you're currently watching, the trailer had not yet been released, but it finally dropped and it looks incredible. Definitely worth watching it on YouTube if you haven't seen it yet. I'll put a link in the bio. Now, one of the biggest reasons that this series is so exciting is Sam Witwer's return as the voice of Maul. Beyond simply reprising the role, Witwer brings a deep understanding of the character, promising a more nuanced and insightful portrayal of Maul than we've ever seen before. And visually, this show will use the familiar Clone Wars and Bad Batch animation style, but with a subtle artistic twist that helps it stand apart from previous series. The show is set roughly 1 year after the events of the Clone Wars, and will follow Maul's rise as he builds the criminal syndicate Crimson Dawn, while mentoring a young Red Twi'lek, now revealed to be named Devon Izara. The hue of her skin actually is a little bit more pink, but a lot of people were saying that she will be the canon version of Darth Talon, which is probably unlikely. However, we do know that Darth names weren't the original given name from birth. For example, Sheev Palpatine took on the name Darth Sidious, Anakin took on the name Darth Vader, etc. I think you get the picture. And I think it'd be really cool if Izara does turn out to be Talon, but I think we'll just have to wait and see if that's how it plays out. The series will premiere on Disney Plus on April 6, 2026, dropping 2 episodes weekly for 5 weeks, ending with the final 2 episodes debuting on May the 4th. And I think that was just great planning on their part. I much would prefer a 2-episode weekly release than a 1-episode weekly release, because it just feels so lackluster waiting for a 30-minute episode, not even a 30-minute episode, every single week. It just kind of feels like it is really dragged out. So I think this is the best possible outcome for an animated series release that we've got in a long time. This will arguably be also the best project released this year, at least in my opinion, as Lucasfilm typically excels in their animated series, and I can't imagine this show being anything less than a 9 out of 10. It's high hopes, but I hope you guys are excited for this one as well. Now, the other huge show releasing this year, and it's very anticipated by a big portion of the Star Wars community, is Ahsoka Season 2. Now, it's shaping up to be a huge release for this year. Season 1 was somewhat of a mixed experience in my eyes. The potential for the next chapter does feel significantly stronger and more ambitious, though. And one of the most promising aspects is the decision to position Grand Admiral Thrawn as the primary antagonist of the current era of Star Wars, I guess, that we're getting right now. This move not only strengthens Ahsoka as a series, but also helps tie directly into the broader direction of sort of this Mandoverse that's being created, which continues to build toward Dave Filoni's upcoming film, which I guess is going to be reworked into a show now, but it's set to release a few years from now. So with multiple interconnected projects clearly moving toward the same narrative endpoint, the film is increasingly positioned, and this new reworked show is increasingly positioned as the climactic resolution of this Mandoverse and many of its core characters. So I'm assuming we'll see the end of a lot of story arcs for characters that we've grown up with, like the Rebels crew, the Mando characters, such as like Mando himself. We'll see what happens to Grogu. All those kind of story arcs that we're assuming will come to the end not too long from now, and what the trajectory of the surviving characters will be. So looking ahead, I think the most significant developments for Season 2 of Ahsoka, in my eyes, revolve around Balin's skull. Both his recasting and the ultimate purpose of his mysterious quest. His storyline appears to be leading towards the realm of the Mortis gods and potentially Abeloth, maybe, raising some pretty fascinating possibilities for how deeply this series may explore the more mythological and cosmic aspects of the Force. So how Filoni chooses to interpret and integrate these elements will be especially interesting, given his long history of shaping these characters across shows like The Clone Wars, Rebels, and now this live-action Ahsoka series. His years of investment in this interconnected cast of characters make the direction of their stories particularly meaningful, and I know there's so many people out there that love these characters and want to see them done justice in live action. Rest in peace, following the passing of Ray Stevenson, Roy McCann has been cast as Balin Skull for Season 2. So Stevenson's portrayal of this character, though in my eyes, was just so powerful and memorable, making him really difficult to replace, but there is a genuine optimism, it seems like, surrounding McCann's casting. Knowing that McCann and Stevenson were friends in real life also, I think, adds an emotional layer to the transition and passing of the torch, and it will be intriguing to see how Rory can both honor Stevenson's performance and bring his own interpretation to Balin in Season 2 to project that character into a forefront position in this show. And although there is no exact release date yet, Ahsoka 2 is still expected to premiere in 2026, most likely in the second half of the year, especially now that we know that the Maul Shadow Lord show will release in April. And I'd love to hear if you guys are excited about this and give me your thoughts on Ahsoka Season 1. My hopes aren't as high as Maul Shadow Lord, but I do think there's a lot of great potential in Ahsoka Season 2, especially with the way this whole Mandoverse that they're creating is heading, with Thrawn being the forefront villain. I'm really hoping that there's a great season here that's coming later this year. Now on to the last show that will premiere in 2026, and that is relating to Star Wars Visions. So the last show for 2026, and it might not be when it's released, but at least what I'm covering in this video, it'll be the anime series Star Wars Visions Presents The Ninth Jedi. I don't have too much to say about this series, but it'll be a full-length anime that continues the story first introduced in 2 earlier episodes, one from Star Wars Visions Season 1 and its sequel episode in Season 3, both following the same narrative path. And while I haven't watched all of Visions, I do agree that this was easily one of the stronger episodes, and it makes a lot of sense that Lucasfilm would choose to expand this particular story into a full series if they're going to build one at all. The series is set to release later in 2026, and if I had to guess, obviously it'll either be the last release of 2026 for Star Wars, or it'll drop in between Maul Shadow Lord and Ahsoka Season 2, which are their big hitters this year. Okay, so the final genre, I guess, or thing I want to cover in this video at least, is one of my favorite things, which is video games. Now, specifically 3 video games I want to cover. The first game is set to release this year, which is Star Wars Zero Company. And this was confirmed in 2025 in April in Japan at Star Wars Celebration. This was their big announcement for video games. This is a single-player, turn-based tactics game developed by BitReactor in collaboration with Respawn Entertainment. Respawn did Jedi series and Lucasfilm Games, and it's scheduled to launch in 2026 on console and PC. Now, personally, this isn't a genre that I'm specifically drawn to, but if you've enjoyed turn-based strategy games in the past, this one will most likely be right up your alley. Even so, with me not enjoying this genre that much, it's still something I plan on checking out when it releases, because who knows, Everybody gets older, tastes change, and maybe I'll like it. The second game arriving later in 2026, and it's a newer announcement that I'm super stoked for, is Star Wars Galactic Racer. Galactic Racer is a high-stakes racing game set in the Star Wars universe, coming to PS5, Xbox Series X, S, and PC. So players will compete in repulsor craft races across iconic and diverse planetary tracks in both single-player and multiplayer modes, which I think is a good balance there. And I'm really am excited for this one, especially since I grew up playing games like Burnout and Need for Speed, even the original Star Wars Episode 1 Racer from 1999, and one of the hardest sequences to get through in gaming when I was a kid, which was the pod racing sequence in Star Wars The Complete Saga Episode 1. And you have to get through the pod race. That killed me as a kid. But back to this game, being able to choose from multiple repulsor craft classes and feel like I'm part of a true pod racing league sounds absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait for this one to come out. And the final game rumored to be teased, presented, and released potentially in 2026 is the highly anticipated third entry in the Star Wars Jedi series, following Fallen Order and Survivor. And if the first two games prove anything, it's that Respawn truly understands how to tell a personal, character-driven Star Wars story while delivering satisfying combat and exploration. I really enjoyed the step up in explorations and customization in the second game, and I'm expecting the third to even be better than the first two. And with Cal Kestis' journey still being unfinished, this chapter feels like it has the potential to be one of the best Star Wars games yet, finally bringing his story to a meaningful resolution, hopefully, that gives us closure on what's come before and still hinting at what's ahead. And hopefully that means a live-action appearance in a Star Wars series or upcoming movie for Cal. This is easily one of my most anticipated games and just Star Wars releases on the horizon. So if it does land in 2026, I feel like this year might be one of the best ones in a long time as a Star Wars fan. All right, so that wraps up this video. Thanks so much if you made it this far. Appreciate your time. Hope you've been having a great 2026 so far. I can't believe January is already on the close. This year is going to be a great year for Star Wars, and I'd love to hear what you're most excited for down in the comments. Have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you in the next video, and may the Force be with you always.
It's a tea-tacky traveler. Anta country, so some me bola.